Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Let me ask you a question, friends. What does uncertainty signify for you? Is it something that worries you? Are you afraid of it? Is it something you try desperately to avoid? Or is it something that excites you? Does it entice you to dive into it? I think both of these have their place perhaps, but neither is the best choice for every situation. And I believe most of us have a preference for one or the other, and that preference sometimes stands in our way. What if there were a middle ground between the two? Is there a way we can move to the center and not favor either fear or foolishness? I believe there is, and this week's Tarot and Oracle spread is going to give us some ideas about that. So if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my series in which I use Tarot and Oracle cards to dive into topics related to living life intentionally. And this week is the same as always. I've got a spread all laid out. If you were here last week, it's the same set of cards. So let me show you the spread. Aren't these a beautiful set of cards? A beautiful set of very minimalist images, especially on the tarot cards. Now, if you are a first-time visitor, let me give you a brief overview. In this spread, in the center you saw 3 cards. Those are from an oracle deck, and they give us the main topic or the thesis statement for this spread. And around those 3 cards, there are 4 inquiry cards, cards with questions on them, and each one of those questions is answered by 2 tarot cards from, well, 1 tarot card from 2 different decks. So that's how this is going to work. First, we'll dive into the central thesis of the spread, and then we'll ask the questions and answer them with the tarot cards. And if you're curious about these beautiful cards and who created them, as usual, at the end of this video, there will be a short clip that gives you that information. And at the bottom of this screen, in the description box, there will be links if you want to go and check out the decks and perhaps purchase one or all of them if you are so inclined. Just remember, I do not get any financial remuneration if you use these links. These are just for your convenience so that you can go and enlarge your collection of tarot and oracle decks if you want. These really are beautiful cards. So, friends, we're all set up. Let's take a look at the central 3 cards, the oracle cards. So, you just saw the 3 cards from the oracle deck, mythical creatures. And it went from left to right. The Kraken, a very cute looking creature, right? The Kraken, a little less cute. And then the Bunyip. In the card, it looks like a very cute little animal, but not necessarily, and we'll get to that one in just a moment. Let's start with the Kraken. Now, the Kraken is a chimeric mythical beast. Chimeric means it's a combination of different animal parts all stuck together. And this creature is a combination of a dragon and usually a deer, and sometimes it's got a little bit of giraffe tossed in for good measure. I don't see any giraffe in the image in this card, but apparently, depending on the source of the mythology, it can be a combination of different animals. Generally, dragon and deer. And this is a very interesting and probably the gentlest of the 3 creatures in this spread. Now, this is a card of discernment. Why? Because the Kraken is very discerning. It can tell who is a good person and who is a bad person. And the Kraken only appears before the households that are led by benevolent people. It is also the creature that punishes evil. But it doesn't punish evil in the sense of attacking and killing. It would not do any harm. However, it would punish evil actions without doing actual harm to the evildoer, if that makes any sense. So generally, even though it does dole out punishment, it's not a fearful or fearsome creature. It's a very benevolent creature and appears before benevolent people. And this card is here to remind us of something important, something to keep in mind at all times. It's to remind us to pay attention to our intuition and instinct, because we have an inner Kirin in all of us. We were born with the instincts and the intuition to discern between what is good for us and what is bad for us. It's here to remind us that we can also help those instincts and our intuitive sense to grow and flourish by paying attention to it, by developing it. One of the reasons that I came back to reading tarot and oracle cards after so many years was to develop my access and ability to understand the information that I received from my intuition. Because we all receive information from our intuition, because we all have an intuitive mind. It's part of our human makeup. The question is, can we recognize when we are receiving information? Can we translate it into thoughts that our conscious minds can process? Because the intuitive mind is not a conscious mind, but perhaps more of an unconscious or subconscious mind. It's the mind that looks at things not in bits and pieces, but holistically, with the irrational mind. Now we have the rational mind of dissecting things and analyzing things, and we have the irrational mind, which is not the crazy mind, but the irrational of holistic thinking, seeing patterns, seeing trends. Not analyzing trends, but seeing and perceiving trends. That's all the intuitive mind, and we all have the ability to do that. And we can access that information to one extent or another by our proclivities. Now, some of us have more of a proclivity to using or accessing intuitive information, and some of us have moved in the other direction, have moved more towards the analytical, critical thinking mind. But we have both. And since we have both, we can develop one or the other. And we can develop our intuition. And I am doing that by reading cards as one of my practices. So this card is here to remind us that we have the sense to discern between that which is good and that which is bad, that which is beneficial and that which is not. So that's where we get to the unknown. We have a tool that will help us discern between things that are unknown. And so the things that are unknown are represented by the next two cards. Yeah, because the unknown can be a range of possibilities. The first card, the Kraken, is one end of that spectrum. The Kraken, do you remember the Kraken from the movies? My first exposure to the Kraken was in the 1981 classic movie Clash of the Titans. Now, perhaps if you're not as old as I am, your exposure might be from the 2010 remake of Clash of the Titans, in which this line was said, "Release the Kraken." I think it was, I think it might have been Liam Neeson who said that. "Release the Kraken." The Kraken is a sea beast, a sea creature. And it's an immense tentacled creature that lives at the bottom of the sea. And it attacks ships. That's its primary duty in mythology, is to attack ships that have ventured into unknown waters, and it devours the sailors on those ships. It's a very dangerous and very violent creature that comes up from the sea. So this is a card of risk. What is risk? Not all things unknown are risk. I think we want to discern, to understand the differences between risk and the unknown. The unknown is a very broad range of experience. And within that range, there is something called risk. And risk is what? Risk is exposure to danger. And suddenly another media reference comes up for me, Lost in Space, the robot. Danger, Will Robinson, danger, yeah? Risk. That end of the unknown is something that we perhaps want to avoid. Yeah? Risk is not worth taking, really. Now, you might disagree with me. Some people enjoy taking risks. Some people enjoy facing danger. What are some of those risks? Like jumping off of high buildings with a parachute. Now, I think that's called, it's one of the extreme sports. Not jumping out of a plane, but jumping off of a high building with a parachute is one of the extreme sports, and it's risky. It's facing danger. And some people like doing that. But in a sense, that's a kind of known danger. You know what the dangers are. It's not the unknown. There are known consequences of taking those kinds of risks. There are risks of facing danger of, for example, going out to sea in a sailboat by yourself is a risk. You're facing danger. But it's a known risk. You know what the potential outcomes are going to be, and you can mitigate some of those risks by taking precautions, by preparing a backup parachute, by preparing communications with the coasts and preparing your route. Now, that's not completely unknown risk, but risk is danger, and part of the unknown can be risk. And that's what the Kraken is here to remind us of. That the unknown can be risky, can be facing danger. But it's not all risk. It's not all danger. There's also the Bunyip. What is the Bunyip? The Bunyip is from Australia. It's an Aboriginal mythological creature. It's feared, but it's also, but the descriptions of it vary. In some descriptions, it could be a very frightening, monstrous beast. And in some descriptions, it's kind of like a seal. Now, why anyone would be afraid of a seal, I don't know. And in this card, you see a very cute-looking Bunyip. But perhaps because it is an unknown beast, it's feared. So, this card, what is it telling us to do? It's telling us to accept the unknown. It's telling us that speculating on fears or of the future or of things that we can't control is usually unhelpful. Now, some people say planning for the future is important, and I would agree. I would definitely agree. Planning for the future can be important, can be helpful. But speculating into the unknown of what imagined dangers lie ahead, without any information, without any research, but looking into the unknown and saying, I don't know, I could die, is usually an unhelpful thing. It's going to prevent us from moving into the unknown. It's going to keep us in our safe, routine sphere of activities and places and people. And that's not going to allow us to grow. Repeating the same actions, visiting the same places, meeting the same people, there is a place for that in our lives, certainly. Having routine is a beneficial thing. I'm very routine oriented. How are you? How do you feel about routine? Do you see the value in routine? I hope you do, because there is value in it. But if we limit ourselves to only the routine and we do not expose ourselves to the unknown, we limit our possibilities immensely. We limit our potential for growth and expansion immensely. And that unknown is not only in the exterior, what we perceive as the exterior. That unknown is also our interior, our internal worlds. What some people call the shadow or the unconscious is an unknown to some extent. And if we don't explore that as well, because we're afraid of it, because it's unfamiliar, we limit our potential for growth. We limit our potential for expansion, for evolution. So we want to acknowledge what we don't know, certainly. We don't want to pretend like, I know everything, I can do anything, I can face anything. Yeah? We want to acknowledge the things that we don't know, because that is sane, that is sanity, to me. We want to know and to choose to move on, to move into the unknown, and sometimes into the uncertain. But remember, on one side of that unknown, there is risk and danger. Things that we cannot plan for because we don't know the risks. We don't know. It's the unknown. On the other side, there's the unknown of potential and discovery and exploration and delight. And that's where we go back to the Kirin, discernment. We have the ability to discern when we're heading into risk and danger and when we're heading into delight and exploration and expansion. What is that? What do you think that is? If you are familiar with the idea of living an intentional life, you know that we are in a current, a very powerful current, moving us in the eternal now towards the next now and the next now and the next now, because there is only the now, but moving us in the direction of our evolution and expansion and exploration. Moving us in the direction of all those things that we've decided for ourselves that we want to experience, the love we want to experience, the work we want to do, the creative activities we want to manifest, the homes we want to create around us, the bodies, the health we want to co-create, the relationships we want to create, all of those things, the food we want to eat, the money we want to receive, and the money we want to share. Now that all of those experiences we have placed on the powerful flow of our current of intention. And our currents of intention weave in and out with each other because there is only a unity of the current of intention of the unity of the divine, of which we are part. And we interact with each other. This is all co-creation. We're moving, always moving forward with intention. We can resist it pretty good, but we're always moving forward. We can never cut ourselves off or remove ourselves from it. That's impossible. However, the amount that we are open to receiving the power of intention, to flowing with the power of intention, or the amount that we are resisting the flow of intention, is indicated by something. It's indicated by our emotions, by our emotional state. And on one side of that emotional state is the generally negative, which can range from everything from dissatisfaction to powerlessness or depression or unworthiness. And there is a whole bunch of different emotions between those two. And on the other end of this spectrum are emotions such as satisfaction, to love, joy, well-being, pure awareness, and everything in between, belief, hope. And the closer we are towards the higher end of the positive, the more open we are. And the more open we are, the more we are able to flow with the powerful current of intention. And the more we are towards the other end of the spectrum, towards anger, irritation, fear, the more closed off we are to the powerful flow of intention, and the less we are able to access the power of that intention. And the more likely we're going to move into things that we don't want. Things like danger. Because the more resistant we are feeling, that's also an indication that we're moving towards those things that we don't want to manifest into our lives. Because we're still moving as we move with intention, as we are in these physical bodies, we're still moving. And our feelings of fear and anxiety are usually an indication that we're moving towards something that we have not chosen, something that we don't want, something that we're placing our attention on, perhaps, that we don't want to manifest. And we can discern that difference between what area, what end of the unknown we're moving towards by our emotions. So, we have an indicator. We have our emotional indicator, which is going to help us discern and have access to our intuitive knowledge of which direction we're heading in. Are we heading into the unknown of joyful exploration, or are we headed in the direction of fear and danger and potential disaster, or potential harm, or potential disappointment even, or potential unwanted outcome? And that's what this spread is reminding us of. One, that we have the tools we need or we want to discern where we're heading as we head into the unknown. And we want to remember the Bunyip, that we want to acknowledge when we are looking at the unknown. We don't want to jump in foolishly, ignoring what we're feeling, ignoring our intuition, ignoring our instincts. We don't want to jump in foolishly, pretending like we know everything when we don't. In these conscious minds, when we don't. But we want to explore it also. We want to make the decision to know, this is something that I don't know. This is something whose outcome that I am not sure of, but it feels good. So I'm going to go and I'm going to explore and I'm going to enjoy the exploration of this unknown. Or I'm going to look at this unknown and I'm going to realize that I feel something is off, something is wrong, something is making me feel uneasy, and I'm not going to go there right now. Because what is that feeling telling us? It can be telling us two things. One, I'm heading into something that I don't want. Or two, I'm having negative thoughts or beliefs about this thing, and so I'm resisting my movement. And in both cases, we don't want to go forward. We want to get our alignment together, get our SHIT together before we move into the unknown. But then when we're there, when we've got it together, when we've got our alignment in order, and we see that we can enjoy the experience of moving into the unknown, then that's when we want to go. Fully knowing that it's unknown, but ready for the exploration, like the Bunyip. So, what do we want to do? We want to venture into the unknown. We want to avoid the Kraken and recognize when we're moving into the unknown so that we move with resolution and with joy, or with curiosity even. And that's how we live an intentional life, beautifully. So friends, we've got 4 questions to ask of this central spread. Let's move on to the first question. The first question is, what can I let go of? And you see that the answer to this question, the answers to this question, are 2 cups cards. Now, one is the 7 of cups and one is the 4 of cups from 2 different decks. Now, the 7 of cups is the card for some people of wishful thinking, of illusion, of temptation, of superficiality, of decoys for some people. Decoys, yeah? Things that can get you entrapped. Yeah? Things that will tempt you to move towards a trap, a decoy, right? And I can see why that could be the 7 of cups for some people. In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you've got 7 cups with different objects floating above them. One is a dragon, one is a castle, one is something that looks like a ghost, one is something that looks like an angel. Yeah, and this is an illusion card for some people. In this card, we still have the 7 cups, and we have 7 different objects, which are a little bit harder to see in this watercolor version, but it's still the same idea. And so, yes, we want to let go of wishful thinking, of illusions, the negative side of that. However, for me, when I usually see the 7 of cups, I see opportunities, I see choices, I see dreams, daydreams, imagination. So why would we want to let go of those things? Those things seem very beneficial. But there's also a reason to let go of those, to let go of dreams, to let go of opportunities. Not because we're letting go of them like we try to let go of things that we don't want, things that we don't want to have in our lives or our experience. There's another understanding of letting go. You remember there's a famous quote, and I don't recall who said it, but it goes something like this. If you love something, let it go. If it comes back to you, it was yours all along. If it doesn't, it was not yours. Now, that's not the exact quote. I realize I'm misquoting it, but the idea is the same. Yeah? If it comes back to you, it's yours. If it does not come back to you, it was never yours to begin with. And a lot of us, even those of us who live the intentional life, when we have a dream, when we daydream, when we envision the things that we want to experience, the things we want to manifest. What do you want to manifest? When I ask you, what do you want to manifest in your life? What things appear to you? Now, those are the things that this card represents to me. Those things that we imagine and hope for on our powerful flow of intention. The things that we're moving towards. We want to let go of them. Why do we want to let go of them? Not because we no longer want them in our experience, but because what we usually do is we clutch on to them. We cling to them. We hold them so tightly in our hands that what we end up doing is resisting receiving them. We get attached to the form and the way of achieving them, or the way of having them manifest in our lives. And that's where we run into trouble. When we hang on to those daydreams so tightly, and I can understand why. I do the same thing. They're holding on to those dreams is perhaps what keeps us going. But do you notice the resistance in the way I said that? I didn't say it resistantly on purpose, but you can hear the resistance in that, right? These dreams are what keep me going. Yeah? Because without these dreams, I'm afraid I would have no energy, I would have no hope, I would lose myself. And it is impossible to lose ourselves. We can hide ourselves, but in walls of fear and anxiety, sure. But we can never really lose ourselves because we are the eternal us having a human experience. That connection can never be lost. We can distract ourselves from it. We can hide it from ourselves, but it's never lost. However, that clinging to the dreams prevents us most of the time from actually achieving them, or makes our journey to the dream so much more challenging because we're trying to work hard to get there, rather than enjoying the process, enjoying the journey. So the way to really enjoy the journey, not waiting for the results to happen, but enjoy the journey getting there, is to trust that once we've had the dream, once we've made the decision, it's out there and we can let it go. We can let go of the dream, trusting that it's there, we've put it there, and that we're moving in that direction. And we can enjoy the journey. And we can enjoy the truth that as we are progressing, as we are moving in that direction, we might make another decision. We might decide, that dream was nice when I first thought of it, but now that I've had these experiences, I realize that it's not that dream, it's a little bit more like this dream. And we can allow that evolution to take place as we journey forward. Recently, I did a vision board. And that vision board has some dreams on it. And I will look at it and I will remember it. But I'm looking at it and remembering it not because I expect to have that image appear in my life, but just to remind myself of the feeling. Because it's that feeling that is going to be the impetus to keep myself open to the powerful flow of intention, moving me in that direction. And what manifests might look exactly like what's on the vision board, but it might be different. And I've let that go, so that I can allow the right thing to manifest, the real dream to manifest for me. And it takes letting go for that to happen. Does that make sense? Again, we're not letting go because it's no longer what we want. We're letting go so that we are free to flow happily, joyously in the direction and allow it to shift as we develop, as we evolve as human beings. Now remember, we have one more card here answering this question. What can I let go of? We have the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups, which is usually a card of disappointment or distractions. It could be the card of, no, what do we see? We see 4 cups. I'm sorry. Yes, we see 4 cups. I'm sorry. It got a little bit dark in here. I'm having a hard time seeing my card here in front of me. Yeah? We see 4 cups. And in this card, it's a little hard to discern. But it can be, for some people, the card of external distractions, of attention inwards, turning attention inwards. It could be a card of meditation. It could be a card of introspection and reflection and contemplation. All good things. all good things. But it can also be a card of apathy and disappointment. And in this case, I think I'm going to read this card in that sense, in the sense of apathy and disappointment. Because sometimes when we cling to our dreams and notice that they aren't manifesting as quickly as we hoped, we start feeling things like disappointment, and we start feeling a little bit of apathy because it just doesn't feel like it's happening for us. Have you ever experienced that? You've held a dream in your heart so long that you start getting disappointed over it because it's not here. When is it going to come? When is that relationship going to happen? When am I going to get this job that I've been dreaming of? When am I going to be able to move out of this place that I hate living in? And we start getting disappointed with our vision boards or our dreams, our daydreams, our visions of the future. We might even stop meditating because we start feeling like, well, it's not doing any good. So we want to let go of disappointment. We want to let go of apathy. How do we let go of disappointment? How do we let go of disappointment? That's a real question. To me, letting go of disappointment means turning our attention elsewhere. Because if we're disappointed over something not manifesting for us, and we keep paying attention to that lack, we're not going to be able to move forward. So the best solution that I know of is to find a way to release that tension of disappointment. Release the resistance of disappointment, because disappointment is a form of resistance. And we want to let go of that resistance. And the best way I know of letting go of resistance that manifests as disappointment is to turn our attention into another direction, into a direction that enlivens us, that opens us up, that helps us to raise our emotional state closer to satisfaction, hope, belief. So, if we're disappointed in our recognition that our dream of a relationship has not manifested, for now, we want to move our attention away from relationship to maybe our jobs. Maybe we feel like we're doing well in our jobs. Or our creative work, painting, singing, whatever, cooking, whatever your creative outlet is. If that feels like it's working well, put our attention there. And the more attention we place there, and the higher our emotional state rises, and the more we're able to release our disappointment, the more we'll be able to move in the direction of all of those wonderful things we've placed on our powerful river of intention. Does that make sense to you? I hope it does. Because letting go is the first step. And the second step is indicated in the next question. So let's look at the second question. The second question is the pair of what can I let go of? What can I receive? Yeah, we let go of things in order to have more room to receive the new. Isn't that right? So the answers to this question, what can I receive more fully? We have two. One is the world, and one is the Knight of Swords. In the world, we see a round, kind of globe-like figure in the center with what looks like a whole bunch of people standing around it and maybe holding hands. It's that we are the world image to me. But the world, what is this card indicating? It's a card indicating fulfillment. A card indicating completion. And accomplishment and masterpiece. It could be that finished work of art that we are creating. It's a card of integration as well, of the journey, all of the lessons that we've had on the journey, all of the experiences we've had on our journey. It's integrating those within ourselves so that they're not separate components of the having experienced this, having learned this, but they come together into one complete picture of understanding. That's the World card. Now, if you think of the major arcana, as some people do, as the journey of the Fool starts off on the journey and has experiences, starting with the Magus or the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, etc., etc. The Fool goes on a journey, and at the end of the journey, it's the world, it's completion, it's coming into wholeness. So it's the end, and it's also the beginning, because it's the end of the cycle and also the beginning of a next cycle. So it's fulfillment, but not an ended fulfillment. It's fulfillment which is a portal to a new beginning. And so we can see this image of the world with these people standing around it, not only as a globe, but as a portal, something that we've achieved, we've attained, we've reached, and will go through to another cycle of experience and learning and manifesting. And as we reach that portal, we integrate the experiences we've had for our evolution, for our development. And that's something we can receive more fully. Yeah? That we have had experiences. We've come through a journey. And at every moment, we can feel our fulfillment. We can feel our sense of completion, of having gotten this far. I'm here. I have learned. I have experienced. I can integrate those experiences. And again, it's the card of ending a cycle and beginning, because there are no complete endings in this universe and in the non-physical. There are cycles. There is no endedness. It's only a continuous spiral of cycles that evolve and expand. So we can receive more fully that at every moment we're ready to begin anew in the eternal now. And at every moment we can integrate the experiences we've had for our development, for our evolution, and be ready to do the next card, which is the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords, the card of ambition, the card of action-oriented personality, the card which is driven to succeed and fast thinking, the card of being willing to leap into the unknown. Because what else is the world but a portal into a new unknown experience, a new unknown cycle? And to leap into that with courage and confidence and knowing is the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is our Bunyip. Yeah? The ability to leap into the unknown, knowing we don't know, but willing to take the challenge, recognizing that we can avoid risk by following our hearts, by following our intuition and our instincts. And we can take charge of our lives and take charge of our experience as we move into the unknown. That's all Knight of Swords. The activity of ambition and leaping forward. So that's what we can receive more fully. We can receive our integration, but also that we are always able to leap into the unknown. Eyes wide open. not closed and blindly, perhaps foolishly going in, but eyes wide open, brains accepting and discerning. Knight of Swords. So let's move to the third question. The third question is, what if I didn't hesitate? And what more perfect question can we have following the Knight of Swords? Because the reason we don't receive fully our Knight of Swords-ness is because usually we hesitate. We look at the unknown and we go, I don't know. Of course we don't know because it's the unknown. But we hesitate before the unknown. A lot of us. Maybe not all of us. But a lot of us do. And we have two answers for the unknown. For what if we didn't hesitate. One is the Ace of Wands, and one is the High Priestess, which is an interesting answer. But let's start with the Ace of Wands. Now, the Ace of Wands, you see a wand. One wand, but it's sprouting, right? It's not just a dead stick. It's a living stick. It's a thriving stick. It's a stick ready to grow, ready to blossom, ready to become something. And this is the card of inspiration and new opportunities for creation and growth. Now, the Ace of Coins, the Ace of Pentacles can also be a card of opportunities, but those are opportunities of material, of opportunities of work, of stuff, the physical. These are opportunities of creativity and passion, which can lead to a pentacle, certainly. But this is the beginning. This is the beginning of that opportunity, the passion and the creativity, the what did I just say? The inspiration to move forward. That which is growing new leaves. And a perfect card here as we are reaching the middle to end of winter, as as we are beginning to see spring on the far side of winter. It's a card of opportunities, of new growth. And if we didn't hesitate, we'd have that stick in our hands. It's the card of potential. And we could receive that potential and work with that potential if we didn't hesitate. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If we were to be able to, without hesitation, with discernment, with eyes wide open, move into the unknown, we'd be able to pick up that wand and create with it passionately. Now, picking up isn't the end, it's the beginning of a new journey with the powerful flow of intention to anything, to a relationship, to a new job. What do you want to create in your life? The new thing is that Ace of Wands. And it takes attention to keep it growing, to keep it thriving. It needs to be nurtured. We want to nurture it. But we first got to pick it up. And before we pick it up, it's unknown. The next answer is the High Priestess, which kind of flipped me out for a moment. Hesitate, High Priestess. What does that mean? And then I got it. High Priestess is our intuition. It's that thing which is going to help us know which is the dangerous risk and which is the exciting, wonderful, beautiful new opportunity. It's the card of sacred knowledge, which we all have. And I say this a lot every time she appears. Some people see the High Priestess as a gatekeeper, as someone who's keeping us out and away from the knowledge. I do not see the High Priestess in that way, and so that is not the way she is appearing in this spread. She could be that in a reversed card, but I'm not reading reversals with these decks. So in this reading, she is not a gatekeeper. She is a librarian. She's the one who's here to guide us toward the information that we want. She's here to direct us in to that vast ocean of sacred knowledge that we each have access to. That is ours when we're ready for it. And she says, are you ready? Okay, here it is. And if we didn't hesitate, and hesitation is an indication that we are not ready, right? If we didn't hesitate, the High Priestess would offer up the information or show us where that information is, guide us in the direction of finding that sacred knowledge, that intuition. She'd be willing to offer up and help interpret even the intuitive pings, the intuitive hits that we get. She's the card of divine receptivity as well. The subconscious mind. And that's our storehouse of knowledge from the eternalness that we are. It's a card of premonitions and perceptivity. And if we didn't hesitate with uncertainty, we'd have access to those premonitions, to that perceptivity that will indicate which direction we're heading into the unknown, towards the risk of the Kraken or towards the wonderful thing that we can move towards with the Banyan. The High Priestess would be coughing up information right and left if we weren't so hesitant. So, what do we get if we weren't here hesitating because, I don't know, that looks scary, or, I don't know, I could die, or, I don't know, I could really screw up. I could mess up this opportunity because I don't know. If we didn't hesitate, if we were open to the powerful flow of what do we call it, intention, then we would move towards that Ace of Wands and be able to grab it. We'd have access to our sacred knowledge and our intuition and are able to perceive the future and to have premonitions of the direction that we're going. And this is a beautiful flow of information in this spread. And we have one more question to look into. Let's take a look at it. So, brief recap. Where have we come from and where have we landed? Now, we came from a realization that we want to explore the unknown. We want to explore the unknown with discernment, with the discernment of the Kidding. To be able to discern between the Kraken and unnecessary risk and danger and the Bunyip. Walking in and accepting the unknown, knowing that we don't know everything, but knowing that we can discern and we can walk into the unknown and we can explore. And so, we got that first question. What can I let go of? And we want to let go of our dreams so that we're not clinging to them and in a sense resisting them, as well as let go of our disappointment that is not here yet. And enter into that blissful, wonderful willingness to enjoy the process, to enjoy the journey, and enjoy the unknowing of the unknown. And what can we receive more fully? Well, we can receive our understanding of completion, that we are completing every moment, and that we have come so far, and we have learned, and we have experienced, and we can integrate, and we can move forward into the unknown. We can move through the world into the next cycle of the unknown as the Knight of Swords. But we also tend to hesitate. And if we didn't hesitate, we'd have those opportunities, and we'd have access to our discernment between what is risk and what is not. We'd have our ability to perceive and have premonitions of where we're going, have that foreknowledge of the direction we're heading, and have access to our intuition, as the High Priestess does. And now we're at, what if I wasn't afraid? Which is the source of our hesitation, right? If we weren't afraid, we wouldn't hesitate. So what if I wasn't afraid? And when these two cards came out, I laughed, because it doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it's funny. It's the tarot saying, wake up. And what do we have here? Two of the same card, the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands. The card of resistance. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The card of resilience. Resistance. The card of resilience, courage, and persistence. And if I wasn't afraid, I would be that. I would have resilience. I would have courage. I would be persistent. I would keep going. It's also the card of the defensive one, the protective one, and the one of boundaries. The one that is hiding. And did you notice the difference between the two cards in these two decks? One of them, the card on the left, showed a figure that looked like it was hiding behind a wall of wands. Now, it looked like this figure was even cowering behind these wands. There was a gap between the center, but this figure was crouched behind the wands, looking very defensive, very protective. And the card on the other side was, I think, a fox standing in front of a group of 9 wands, bandaged. They've gone through some stuff. Now they've taken some blows, but the fox is still standing. So if I wasn't afraid, two cards, the Nine of Wands, I wouldn't do this and I would do that, I think is what these two cards are trying to tell us. I wouldn't cower behind my boundaries. I wouldn't use my boundaries as an excuse not to venture into the unknown, as what it looks like the card on the left is showing us. Someone who's, I'm still here, but I'm not going any farther. I've got my wall up and it's keeping me safe, and I'm not going to go any farther. I'm staying here where I know it's safe. And then the card on the other side, which is, I'm here, I've got my boundaries, I've got my security behind me, but I'm ready to keep going. I have courage, I have resilience, and I'm ready to go into the unknown. Yeah, I've gotten beat up a little bit. Yeah, I've slipped into the risky, dangerous area of things a little bit, but I'm ready to keep going. And if I weren't afraid, I'd be ready to keep going. I would not cower behind my barriers, behind my boundaries. Some boundaries are helpful. Boundaries that are permeable, boundaries that can move with us are helpful. But boundaries that are heavy walls that will not allow anyone or anything in and keep us stuck where we are because they're so thick, they're so heavy that they cannot move with us, that they keep us within our space of this known, the secure. Those walls are not helpful for us in the long run. There are times when we want those, certainly. And we need to be able to discern when we need that boundary of safety. We might have gotten knocked up pretty well. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. We might have gotten beat up pretty well. We might have gotten knocked down. And we might need time to heal. And giving ourselves time to heal behind pretty secure walls is beneficial. is always beneficial. However, when those walls become a trap, a prison, that we cannot move beyond, that we cannot soften those walls, let them become more porous, let them melt so that people can come in again, so that we can move forward with them, so they become lighter. And we can move forward with the powerful flow of intention. If that doesn't happen, then we will start stagnating. And stagnation is not healthy. It's not healthful. We want to be able to move with our boundaries and, if possible, move beyond the boundaries and bring them along with us. We're not doing the 10 of Wands where we've got 10 sticks on our back and we're trudging along because they're a burden. No. This would be the card of allowing the boundary to move forward with us, because it's light enough to be able to move with us. Not so heavy and thick that we'd either have to drag it or we can't move it. So if I weren't afraid, I'd move beyond my boundaries and move into the unknown, trusting that I can discern between Danger Will Robinson and joyful exploration. Does that make sense to you? I think that's what this spread is telling us. And I'm going to take this last question and explore it a little bit more in my new shorter series. I don't know if you've seen it. I've got a new shorter series which I use Tarot de Marseille instead of Rider-Waite-Smith cards. And I've called it Le Pendu dans la Lune. And it will be a short 3-card spread with answering a question that I have pulled from this larger spread. So go check that one out. Go check out the next episode of Le Pendu dans la Lune, which will be an extension of this larger spread. And remember, in just a moment, there will be a short clip of these decks and the creators so you can find out more. And again, there are links below if you want to purchase the decks too. And friends, tell me what you think. How do you face the unknown? What does the unknown mean for you? Can you move in with knowledge into the unknown easily? Do you blindly jump? Or do you need to close your eyes before you jump? Are you undiscerning of risk? Or does risk scare you so much that you're unwilling to move into the unknown? Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk. So friends, if this video has had some meaning for you, hit that like button so I know that you've watched and you've enjoyed it. Also, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and hit the bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. Share this with anyone who you think might get benefit from it. And comment below. I really would like to hear from you. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.